Hi everybody, what's going on? Jeremy from iMotivate Me. I've noticed a lot of people's social media posts regarding physical fitness and dieting, our nutrition. And so people are asking for advice as to how they can be more healthy. And that goes with exercise. People have gained weight if you're trying to lose weight. And so I want to direct people to my YouTube channel, iMotivate Me, Jeremy Watts. Go to YouTube, type those things in. I like to talk about physical fitness, but I like to incorporate the mental aspect. You have mind, body, and spirit. And so, the mind and body are technically integrated with one another. You can't have a healthy mind if you don't have a healthy body, and vice versa. So when you talk about mind, body, and spirit, it's important to not only be physically fit, but mentally fit. How are we mentally fit? We understand the environment in which we live. If you can understand this environment, it makes it easier to understand our psychological aspect, because behavioral change, that is dieting and nutrition and physical fitness, are a mental battle first. It's 99% mental. 99.9% of everything we do is mental. In order to conduct a behavior and repeat these actions through consistently, they become a behavior, a positive or negative behavior. Depends on which actions you're deciding to take. Are you drinking excessively? Are you eating excessively? Are you eating too much sugar? Drinking too much alcohol? Are you doing drugs? All right. We need to start confronting these things. I like to tackle these issues, and I incorporate a lot of philosophy, a lot of psychology, and I talk a lot about our ego. I talk a lot about the environment in which we live, our financial and economic system. Think about how our economics and our finances affect how we behave. Don't you think that may have something to do with how we consume? And doesn't consuming have something to do with our excess weight? And doesn't our excess weight dictate how we feel? And doesn't how we feel dictate more anxiety, more fears about things, which we're living in a state of fear? And I am concerned for America's well-being. We have a lot of veterans out there that have, whether you're a combat veteran or not, you've gone through a rite of passage where you're away from home, you're eating MREs daily, or you're living a structured environment with the bare minimal requirements for living. You're living in a squad bay, you're living in a barracks that's made of bricks, and you may have a little window. You're sharing a room with 3 guys, and you're field daying every Thursday, and you're having company formations every day, and you're away from home, you're away from family, you're away from loved ones. It's a highly stressful environment at times, and there's alcohol that's involved in that, and there are other abuses that occur in this lifestyle. And so you have a lot of people out there, men and women, who have sacrificed like we are right now, and I suggest reaching out to people like myself and those others who have served our country and our military in times like this. And we need to step up as former military and patriots ourselves to look out for one another and to be there to provide any kind of information and experience, share our experience as to that life that we once lived. I like to incorporate the mental, emotional, and just conscious state of America. Where is your consciousness? Are we really conscious? When you hear somebody say, oh, we have a generation of millennials that are woke, understand that usually when you hear somebody say that and it's on mainstream media, they are trying to pander your wokeness to keep you asleep, to think you are woke, because you are not woke. Even in this state where we think we understand the enemy and we think we're at war with the coronavirus, nobody's talking about its origins. Nobody's talking about where it came from. Keep that in mind. And so in the meantime, I'm about to eat a really nice salad. I like to talk about nutrition right now. I like to talk about physical fitness. If you're able to get outside, even if you're not, you're still able to keep your heart rate increased with little things that you can do in the home for 10, 15, 20, or 30 minutes. We don't want to be sweating all over the place. We already are short on cleaning supplies. Everybody's bought out all the toilet paper and wine. So, people are dipping their toilet paper in their wine. People are, cleaning excessively, not excessively, maybe to the point where we need to be cleaning, but at the same time, we don't really have the supplies to be cleaning up after ourselves and sweating all over our carpets and beds and sofas and anything like that, because when I work out, generally I get it in, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like to stop. Once I get going and you get in the zone, what happens is you get what's called like a runner's high, or I like to call it vascularization. I like to use big words. It's important to me. It gives me self-confidence to know that I know what I'm talking about in scientific terms. I am a scientist. This is what I do for a living. I study body composition and the effects of physical fitness on your body composition. I study the energy system. So when I talk about vascularizing your mind, you are introducing oxygenated blood into your brain neurons. You've got blood flow, circulation. Women like vascular men, right? So we want to be vascularized, and in doing so, you're opening new neurological pathway opportunities to come up and take your ideas and expand on them to yourself. And so when I get going and I do little workouts in my small studio apartment, it's a small apartment, I'm telling you, but I'm a modest person. I've got a nice little lighting thing going on that I purchased some time ago for a minimal amount of money, but it's done me well so that I can convey my message to you. I believe I figured out a way to be conscious to the point where it allows me to think freely and independently. And when I can do that, I can separate myself from all the external stuff that's out there. And so I can focus and organize on one or two specific tasks at a time. And one of my tasks is to convey my message that right now we have a stressful, anxious, and fearful situation. And what does anxiety and stress do to your behavior? You can be predicted. Your behavior can be predicted. You're going to behave in an irrational way, and certain entities know this. And so I like to go around that. I like to be not a part of that and not conform to that, so that I can identify my fears and head into them and conquer them. I can dissolve them. I don't have to live through an ego where it has to be filled constantly, and when it's not, I have to continue to seek it, and then I'm filled with a bunch of garbage that ends up dictating my emotional state, thus dictating my behavior. And I can do these things on my own independently, and I can live through myself. And so these are the ways mentally that leads to positive behavior changes, like dieting, like reducing your carbohydrate and sugar intake right now, because even if you're working out inside, those workouts are not as intense as they would be if you were at the gym. So we're not expending as many calories, and that may lead to positive calorie balance, which is actually negative for you. That means you're intaking more calories or energy than what you're expending. So we want to reduce our sugar and carbohydrate intake. I would recommend that, unless your doctor says otherwise. And I would increase your protein intake, which promotes protein synthesis and muscle maintenance. Your muscles are made of muscle fibers, i.e. muscle proteins, actin and myosin filaments, and they break down whenever you do a bunch of push-ups. I see a lot of people doing one set of 20. You need to be doing like 3 sets of max to break down those muscles, and so that they have to rebuild themselves through protein synthesis. So we want to increase our protein intake in order to facilitate that. And in doing so, you're increasing your resting metabolic rate. When your muscles break down and build up, this is metabolism. And we like metabolism. We like vascular muscles. Muscles have blood flowing through them, therefore they are vascular. We want to increase our veggie intake, i.e. salads, make it colorful. You can incorporate spinach on occasions. Spinach does have a higher acid load, so you don't want to just go eat Popeye type of spinach all day, every day, because it has a high acid load. And when you're talking about chronic kidney disease, renal issues, that can become an issue over time. And I won't get into that. I'm not a certified nutritionist. However, we want to increase our veggie intake. 90% of Americans don't get their recommended daily allowance for fruits and vegetables. We want to keep our fructose levels decent, because fructose becomes fat if you don't use it. So we want to eat our fruits, but we want to make sure they're the right fruits. And I would suggest reaching out to any number of people who are out there that you've seen online, get their ideas, go on YouTube. That's a great source of information. Read a book. I highly recommend reading a book. I do every day. I'm reading 2 books right now, as a matter of fact. And that's what I'm doing. So we want to increase our veggies and fruit intake. 90% of Americans are not getting that recommended daily allowance. Reduce our carbohydrate and sugar intakes. Reduce that alcohol intake. And I'm not saying this from a physical standpoint. I'm saying this from an emotional standpoint. Reduce your alcohol intake and get in touch with your emotions right now. Because we are in a highly unstable environment. And I highly recommend you being in touch with yourself. It is the most important thing I think you can do at this time, is to be in touch with who you are mentally and emotionally. Very important, because we can still make a behavioral change in terms of physical activity, but it's going to require you to be mentally stable and being even keeled. Not living emotionally unstable to where when you're high, you expect things to stay high, and so you make these irrational decisions to keep buying into whatever it is, whether you're investing in the stock market or whatever the case, you're gambling, which I hope you're not right now. It's that you talk about gambling being high risk, you're like quadrupling that risk every time you gamble right now in this state, in this economic state. And when you're really low, you're upset, you're anxious, you're fearful, you can't sleep. Well, what are you going to do? You'll make irrational decisions, i.e. being bailed out by our government and allowing it to happen and becoming dependent as opposed to the independent thought, the independent person going against the grain, not conforming. And so that's what we like to do. That's what I'm all about. So if you have any questions, please message me, post on my Facebook, post on my Instagram, whatever it is. You can holler at me in any way, and I would love to answer any of your questions regarding physical fitness, mental fitness, my experiences, my guidance, my path that I've created, I've found. The path is always there. You just have to find it again, and the only way to do that is to get rid of the external crap. And so if you would like any information on that stuff, who I read, what I read, who I listen to, where I get my information, how I manage stress. I do not live in anxiety. When I say I'm concerned and worried for my fellow Americans, I mean that I remember how I felt when I was in these situations before I was in touch with who I was. And in order to be strong in these times, in order to overcome these things and not fall victim, because when you fall victim, you become a victim of being a victim and you become dependent. And I was sick and tired of being dependent on my environment. And therefore, I took control, grabbed life by the horns, so to speak. It's a cliche that people say, and then there's no real guidance for that. Okay, what do you mean grab the bull by the horns, grab life by the horns? What do you mean by that? Well, it means gaining an independent consciousness so as to become rational and thus make better decisions that benefit you and those around you in the short term and long term, creating consistency in taking action, and those actions and consistency become a behavior. So God bless everybody. Check out YouTube, Jeremy Watts, I Motivate Me. If you have questions, message me, holler at your boy, and enjoy your Monday. Read, exercise, study, stay calm. God bless.